and welcome to Big OGGIE World in the cave.
In the cave, in the dark cave.
Yes, you can see a couple of manky towels hanging up against the window, but we are absolutely being blinded by sunlight. So for today, it's going to have to be towels because we still haven't got a blind. But we'll get there, we will get there.
If you watch the previous video, the slow cooker's over there where we're actually cooking the chicken at the moment for it. So part two.
Part two today's cookery is we are going to make a plum and apple cobbler. Lovely pudding. Not made a cobbler in absolutely years, but it's one of those things that you don't do often, and then when you do them you think, why don't I do that often, because they're really good.
In America they do a peach cobbler, which we might have to do near the summer. They might
be really nice. Yeah. So but for now we're doing plum and apple. So plums, obviously, we're in January. There's nothing in season particularly, but you can get these, you know, these black things that are around all year round.
The round things, yeah.
Yeah.
But like billiard balls. You
need quite a lot of them. You need 700 grams. And I have tasted them and they are quite sour. So the recipe says 100 grams of castor sugar to make the stewed fruit. I'd say you might need to temper that to your taste, quite frankly. And you're also going to add in some Braeburn, so hopefully they'll bring a bit of sweetness, but it does actually say Braeburn, and if it says something specifically in a recipe, if you can get it, it's generally better than substitutions.
We tended to use the Braeburns during the juicing. You're still doing juicing.
I'm juicing, yeah.
And they've got really good flavour actually.
They do.
All round flavour.
Yeah, they're pretty good, Braeburns. So we're using Braeburns. So I have destoned and chopped roughly my plums. I now need to chop up my apples and take out the pips, core them, and then I need to slice my 2 vanilla pods in half and scrape out the seeds, but the whole thing is going to go in as well as the seeds. So I'm just going to do the apples now. I didn't want to do them before I spoke to you because I didn't want them to go brown straight away. Okay, so I'll be back in 2 minutes. Okay, so first off, we are going to do the stewed fruit. So you need to put it on to a low heat and add in your vanilla pods and the vanilla seeds, your butter. I'll let that melt a little bit before I get anything else in there.
Now, if you've not used vanilla pods before, you split them down the middle and you just scrape out the insides and then you put the seeds in.
It looks like that.
It looks like that. It looks like black dirt.
Loads of little black seeds. But you can put the pods in as well because they're quite flavoursome in themselves. But remember to take the pods out if you're going to cook with the pods in as well.
Little bit of advice, because they're not the cheapest thing, vanilla pods.
No, they're not.
Obviously depends where you get them, but they're not cheap. If you want to make the most of them, obviously we can't really do that today because we're cooking them in fruit, but if we just use the seeds, then you can still use the pods and you can stick them in a jar of sugar. Get a jar of sugar, you make vanilla sugar with them. Stick the pod sticks kind of in the sugar, seal it up for a while, and you get vanilla sugar.
You do. Right, so into that I'm going to add my plums, apples, and the sugar. As I said, you may need to adjust the sugar content depending on how sweet or tart you like it and how sweet or tart your fruit is. And a teaspoon of cinnamon powder. Now literally you want to cook this down until all the sugar and everything is melted and the fruit is soft, but you don't want it to go so that it's completely a mush. You want to see some pieces still in it, so don't go too far with it. We will come back when ours is about there.
Yeah, take your time.
You do it over a slow heat, otherwise you'll end up with brown bits and whatever, and you don't really want that. I've taken the vanilla pods out of our stewed fruit and poured it into my baking dish and just let it cool down a bit really. So the next thing we're going to do is to make the cobbler topping. Before you start doing that, you need to set your oven to 170 if it's a fan, 190.
Yeah, about 20 degrees different.
Yeah, there's about 20 degrees in it if it's not a fan. And then we start. So the first thing you're going to do is take an egg and mix it with your milk. Now, our eggs are special. Well, they're not special eggs, but they are a bit special. They have got the orangest yolks I've ever seen. They are those. So this is going to look a bit colourful, shall we say. The only problem with those eggs is that they are not a designated size, so they're various sizes. But this recipe doesn't say you need a large one or a medium one, so it says an egg. And as you can see, it looks like I've got orange juice in my little pot.
Obviously, there's another photograph of all these ingredients for this part, and all the details of both lots of ingredients will be put in the description below.
So, that's those two mixed together. Now, what you need to do then is take your flour and your diced butter, and you are going to rub it together just the same as you would as if you were making some pastry or that sort of thing.
The thing we always learned in school, one of the first things we learned in cookery class in school, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Home economics.
Now with this, you don't need to be too pedantic with it. It says, so you've got sort of large breadcrumbs, so you don't need to be rubbing it.
There's a song there somewhere.
I think that's called loving it,
Yeah.
not rubbing it.
So you just ruined it now, because I was going to just say, well, can you do the test to prove if you're any good at this by not having any flour on the palms of your hands by doing this? No.
Because I rubbed it.
As you rubbed it, yeah.
So when it's done, it should look like that. And then into that, you are going to add in your caster sugar, your baking powder and cinnamon, and give that a mix around so that it's combined. The mix actually is almost like a batter rather than an actual dough, so you'll see in a minute. So once you've got all your dried in, then you add in the wet. So that's your milk and your egg. In it goes.
I will say, I'm quite partial to an omelette, and those eggs make the most incredible omelette you've ever seen. Very strange.
And then you combine the two.
You just working out together with a fork?
I am doing it with a fork. You could use your hands. In fact, I may change to my hands in a minute now that it's thickening up. But it's not thick enough to turn out on the table and work as a dough. In fact, I don't think I will bother. Put my hands in that, it's fine. Just a knife. So, as you can see, it is more of a thick batter than a dough. And all you do now is you dollop that on top of your mixture. Sorry, that's John's audio completely ruined. So we need to get 8 pieces, approximately. You don't want to completely cover the whole of the top. It's nice if you leave little gaps in between, because then the fruit comes bubbling up through and tastes wonderful. Longish one then.
Well, it's rustic, love. And maths was never your strong point, was it?
It wasn't the maths that was the problem, it was the dish wasn't quite long enough for what I had anticipated.
It'll be fine. Amazing how this stuff spreads out.
Absolutely. Waste one more. And that is that. Now the next thing is you take 2 tablespoons of demerara sugar, so the nice crunchy one that you sort of put in your coffee, and you sprinkle that over the top of your cobbles to give them a nice crunchy topping. There we go. Now, as you can see, it's not the most artistic piece of work ever, but
It's modern art.
it'll get eaten nonetheless.
Goes along with your Damien Hirst penny.
Damien Hirst, is it?
Yeah.
Right.
Dotted.
So this now goes into the oven for 35 to 40 minutes until they're nice and golden brown and cooked through. So we'll be back in a while. The beeper has burped.
Beeper has burped.
So
Let's
the
just
cobbler
see what
is
that.
coming out of the oven. Yum, yum. Look at that, people. That
Yep.
is one hot bubbling plum and apple cobbler.
Molten cobbler. Yeah. Looks good.
As you can see, the cobbles spreaded out and now look like I purposely placed them exactly where they were meant to be.
Kind of.
So,
They'll be fine.
as you can see, it spreads. It spreads quite a lot, so don't worry if you've got gaps. But like I said, try and leave small gaps. Well, I did try, but it then filled it up. But you can see the little bits where it comes through, and that makes it a bit extra delicious. So that, my friends, is a cobbler. I need to leave it for at least 10 minutes before I cut it, apparently. So give me 10 minutes.
Let's be honest, it's going to be dangerous right now.
Give me 10 minutes and I'll cut a piece out and you can see what it looks like on a plate.
Yeah, we're not going to sit there tonight and just taste it for you because we know it's going to be good.
Yeah.
So we'll just see a picture.
But I will cut it out for you. Okay? Hope you enjoyed it. For those of you that have not subscribed, please do so. Please, if you've got a friend or a neighbour or anybody else that likes cooking or travelling or any such thing like that, do ask them if they would like to watch and try and get them to subscribe also. If you are subscribed, please make sure that you've hit your notification bell so that you know when we are around. And basically, that's it.
Yeah, one thing I would like to say is obviously at the moment it's been predominantly food. We've been doing predominantly food and drink because the weather's been pants. But as the weather improves in this country, we will do more travelling things again. So it will open up and do a bit more than just food. So if you're worried about it's just being a food channel, it's not.
Yeah.
There's other things to do.
We'll be doing other things, like I might take you into the garden with me, and we need to do some work in the garden this year and plants to plant and things. So I might take you along for that and get your opinions on maybe what I should plant where. It's quite interesting up here because the weather's a bit difficult, so
yeah, either lives or dies.
Yes, things don't really go as to plan a lot of the time.
And we've got some adventures planned. So
we have got some adventures planned and we will be bringing you all along. So see you all again pretty soon. Bye for now.
bye everybody.